what the biofluidic microscope is essentially is an integrated platform where you have a fluidic FM system together with the AFM, so you can operate either a fluid FM or a conventional AFM. It sits on top of high-speed, high-resolution confocal. It's a 𝗓𝗍 𝗨𝗃2, and we also have two heads on the microscope. And we have a 𝗨𝗍 head that has 100 micrometer displacement, as well as the conventional, not conventional, but NanoWizard 5 scanning head with the 50 micrometer Z range, which becomes very important. And it also has the automated XY nano positioning stage. So what the really unique opportunities there is to combine the confocal with AFM with the biofluidic microscopy, and then you can start manipulating, for example, like Simona was talking 𝗄𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗆. I will talk a little bit 𝗄𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗆 later, but you also can do some manipulation with the cells, or you can do even nano 3D printing, because it sits on the confocal, so we can use the UV light for the selective cross-linking. So that's how it looks like. So I'll just see if I can, someone say if they can see my pointer. So Olivia, can you just give me a heads up? You can see my pointer. All right. So everything that is in blue belongs to Bruker. Everything which is in white belongs to 𝗓𝗍. So this is the LSM 𝗓𝗍 360, and this has the confocal unit over here, and it has the 𝗨𝗍 2 unit over here, just behind the door, just behind the two AFM heads. We have a motorized stage that's sitting on the confocal, and we also have the top view optics in case the samples are non-transparent. And then this is the two heads that we have. So we have the 𝗨𝗍 head, and it also can be connected to the fluid FM. And we also have the scanning head. So we can replace depending on which experiment we are running. Unfortunately, we can't do both experiments at the same time. I would love to say that you can, but no. So one is more geared towards the smoother samples, but then you can get the higher resolution imaging. And the other one is really, we are now working a lot on the biofilms. This presentation is on plants, but currently there is a lot of work that goes on the biofilm that use the 𝗨𝗍 head, and this is the biofilms of the bacteria, because they form a very thick films. So what is the advantage, and what can you do with these? So you obviously can do the optically guided AFM spectroscopy or AFM imaging. So here we have a colloidal probe that is a fluorescently labeled, and you have a fluorescently labeled cells, and you can essentially know which cell you go to, and then you can do the imaging or indentation of that specific cell. So this is the one type of measurement that can be done. You obviously can do a correlative imaging, so you can take a confocal image, and then you can go and overlay and actually sort of do the high resolution AFM imaging of the object. So this one, I think, was the piece of the tomato cell wall. Essentially you have a confocal imaging stained with the calcofluor white, and then you can go down and actually analyze the structure or substructure of the wall using the AFM. So you can really combine the scales, and you can bridge those challenges associated with confocal imaging and those that are associated with atomic force microscopy. I already mentioned that we have an integrated fluid FM as well. As Simone alluded to, that it doesn't have a lot of data because it's a finicky measurement. So it is a finicky measurement, but you can do that. And the main limitation is what we've realized is the fluids that we're using. So the fluids need to be really clean and free of any dust particles, or any aggregation, because it clogs the capillary in the in the FluidiFAM probe really easily. So we've learned it hard way through ruining a number of probes, but it gives you impeccable resolution and advantage in terms of your ability to introduce the localized perturbation to the system. So, but this microscope is very much inspired by our need to investigate plants. So those who are privy to the plants, they can see the this is a wheat shoot. So this is the seed. You can see the roots, which we are interested in roots, and then you can see a leaf that is coming out of the other end. And as you can see, our sample preparation in this instance is absolutely minimal because we want a live, absolutely live material. We don't want to cut it. We don't want to deprive it from moisture. This is all filled in water. It's really messy because it's all wet. And so in this instance, we just have a cut in this filter paper to allow some microscopic observation, but the rest of the roots are actually in contact with moisture. And that enables to keep the plants for a long time in the turgid state, which Simone just introduced, which is super helpful for this presentation, that you already know the challenges associated with keeping plants turgid. This is how it looks like. So this is the AFM head. This is our material. This is a shoot of the wheat. And then essentially we are imaging or doing the nano-indentation just on the root, and we want to understand the mechanics of the root cell, very much to what Simone already discussed. So this is the images of the root. You can see the striation, you can see cells. This is the top view optics. So for wheat, because it is non-transparent, it is very difficult to do the inverted optical microscope. You barely see the cantilever. It's very difficult to see the cantilever. I mean, it works really nicely on the monolayer of the cells. This is fantastic. You can make a full utility of the confocal microscope on which it sits. But at the moment, we're really focusing on the root, and it's a very good opportunity because you can use a fantastic roots of Arabidopsis thaliana, which are almost transparent. But this is not very interesting. What people are interested in the system. They can do new genetics, and this is turned to be like the crops, like wheat or barley. And this is much more challenging sample compared to some of the systems like Arabidopsis. And I think this microscope provides, with its open architecture, it provides a much more flexibility compared a conventional. So that's what we've done. So this is, you can see the wheat shoots alive. They're placed under the microscope, and we start doing the nano indentation measurements using our microscope. And as you can see, we use very stiff cantilevers. So we are usually use 3 Newton per meter cantilevers. And the reason is because exactly we want to indent into the cell. First of all, there is obviously some cuticle layer. There is some layer of the let's say the loosely bound material on the cell wall. You need to go through. You need to compress this layer and then go into the deformation of the cell wall, and then go to the deformation of the whole wall as it indents into the material. And that is a big challenge. Because we have a very open architecture, we can actually do some very fancy measurements where we essentially have a root hair, and we can observe them, and we can measure the deflection of this root hair as we are exerting this deformation with the cantilever. And we can measure also the lateral force on the cantilever as well. So we have almost the 2 force sensors. One force sensor is calibrated, which is your lateral spring constant of the cantilever. But also we can extract the deflection of root hair. And this work has been done with the different, also the osmotic pressure, try to understand how the root hair are sensing the environment. Finally, we are really utilizing, and I'll show you a little bit more, those PDMS and polycarbonate if we need a stiffer substrate. Micro-patent, this is the micro-wells, this is the square micro-wells. So you can do a high throughput screening where you put the cells or materials into different individual compartments, and then you can go with the microscope to the different, for example, with the AFM, and you can do some measurements in a kind of semi-automatic way. It's not fully automatic, but it is semi-automatic, which for a lot of biomaterials is a great help. So without further introduction, I'll jump into, I know we are short of time.